So I kind of feel like this Nick Foles magical Super Bowl run, and obviously what Nick Foles was able to do in the end of the season and beginning of the playoffs this year, he's a great guy. I think by all accounts, Nick Foles is a phenomenal person, and I think a lot of people like him. However, when you see guys even like, well, I'm not going to talk about Stephen A. Smith. We know what we think about him, but he even comes out and says, look, it's weak. If you're going to have anonymous sources, you got to buck up and say who you are. If you want to put that out there, then don't be sources say or anonymous or whatever. He said that's weak. Mike Greenberg, who I actually really respect, he called those guys cowards. If you've got something to say like that, then don't be anonymous sources. Meanwhile, Carson Wentz has other leaders on the team like Fletcher Cox and Lane Johnson, obviously Zach Ertz, one of his favorite targets. Those guys come out and defend Carson Wentz. So I can't believe that the divide in the locker room is that deep that you're going to have those guys throw themselves on a sword for Carson Wentz if he's so uncompromising and selfish and awful to play with. That's guys both on the defense and the offense saying that. So I don't know if this is clickbait. I really don't. I think it's some guys that obviously love Foles trying to stir up drama and see if the Eagles will keep him or whatever. And I have no ill will toward Foles. I've said that. I appreciate everything he's done for the Eagles as a fan of them, but I still think Carson Wentz is the right direction for the franchise. Boy, would it be a shame if this were even half true about my boy Carson Wentz, but even moreover, it'd be a real shame for the team to then go into a new year with Carson Wentz as your leader with this some sort of animosity going on in the locker room. I sure hope it's not true.
It definitely was surprising to me because everything we had heard about Carson Wentz was really great things. A high character guy, had just sort of taken the injury in stride, was there helping Foles, was doing everything he could to help this football team. So when this came out, it was like, where did this stuff come from? This really seems like it's from left field. And then, like you said, you saw some of the leaders in the team immediately refute the article and what was said in it. There are things, I think, from how the offense was being run and some of that I feel like, there might be a little bit of truth there. Because on the field, I think at one point there's a quote that talks about Wentz was thinking too much on the field and basically overcomplicating things. It sort of felt that way at times, but I don't necessarily know if you need to destroy a man's character because of that. So it just feels like maybe there were guys with ill will. And again, you didn't see, not that I've seen yet as we record this, I haven't seen anything from Alshon Jeffrey or Nelson Aguilar, some of the other pass catchers on this team. And again, that was part of the article of he's only got eyes for Zach Ertz. And maybe that's some of the struggle on this team that the football seemed to only find its way to number 86. And they started to become a team that was too easy to predict and defend. So I don't know the parts of the article that really go on to sort of bash his character. I don't know if I believe that, but there are some on the field things that I feel like maybe there's a little bit of truth to that coming out of there. And I definitely would like to see some of the other pass catchers on the team come out and sort of say the same things. That would make me feel a lot better. And I think it would make Eagles fans feel a lot better that, okay, Alshon Jeffrey, Aguilar, even Dallas Goedert, some of these other guys, the running backs, they didn't have a problem. They didn't see him switching plays. They didn't see him only targeting Ertz. They didn't feel that way. I think that may need to happen for this Eagles team to sort of get over it. Because like you said, and we teased it a little bit last week of when we get to the offseason, once we have some finality of where Foles is going and Wentz is definitely the guy, the expectations that are going to come now on Carson Wentz with what Nick Foles has been able to do with this team and this current roster and coaching staff, going to be a lot of expectations on him. And I think Eric's going to be a lot of eyeballs on him as well going into this offseason and next year.
And I think that's fair. I think if you want to be the lead guy on any NFL team as the franchise quarterback, you have to be willing to take some of those constructive criticisms, whether they're from your teammates, whether they're from the coaching staff, or whether they're from the fan base. If you are one-dimensional, you're only finding Zach Ertz. I get that, and I think those are fair assessments if there's issues going on the field. But again, I struggle with all of a sudden, from 2 years ago, he is Mr. Wonderful to now this year, he's basically a terrible human being because his character is awful and he's selfish and egotistical and everything else. I think there's something in the middle where the truth lies. We'll find out as they go into next year. But if he's their guy, and they say that he is, I really want them to get over this and I really want them to move forward. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. A quick check into the NBA, our Philadelphia 76ers, Justin, they're hanging strong in fourth place in the East. 31 wins already, 31-17 as we record this week. They've had a couple of nice wins, but they also have some rough losses as well. Then jumping down to the West, we've obviously got Golden State, number one. Yes, I know, it's Golden State, and that just is what it is. But my guy, LeBron James, his Lakers are now out of the playoff push. They're in ninth. So after the season wraps up for the NFL, we're certainly going to be dealing with a lot more NBA talk. So basketball fans, stick with us. We've got more of that on the way. Next week, we'll get into Super Bowl 53. We'll make our predictions. We'll try to break down what we're seeing in the news and in the media. Will Tom Brady win another one? Will Jared Goff and the Rams win their first one? I think it's going to be a good Super Bowl, but I'm a little nervous that it's going to be a Patriots beatdown if the Rams aren't quite ready for what they're going to deal with. Could be a big learning experience with a team so veteran in going to Super Bowls versus a team going for their first time since Kurt Warner days. Justin, that'll wrap us up for this episode. We appreciate everyone listening. We hope you have a fantastic week. Enjoy the weekend off from football. Maybe catch some NBA, some NCAA men's basketball. No NASCAR on the schedule either, so maybe some NHL. We won't be talking about it here, but I hear it's a game that they play in the United States. Listeners, we appreciate all the support. We'll talk to you on Twitter. Have a good week. Thank you for listening to this episode of Talk Back. Staying current on sports is our number one goal, so we drop a new episode each Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or the podcatcher of your choice. For more info about the show, to meet the hosts, or to partner with us on future episodes, please visit TalkBackFanTalk.com. We really enjoy hearing your take on the world of sports, even when you disagree. After all, this show is dedicated to you, the fans. So get direct access to us on Twitter using @TalkbackJustin and @TalkbackEric. Check out our corporate feed on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @TalkbackFanTalk. We hope you have a great week. We'll talk back at you next time.